All right, folks, today we are going to be looking at some of the characteristics of persuasive text, and we're going to be looking at lots of fun videos and advertisements, and I hope you enjoy it. Up till now, we've been looking at literary nonfiction and expository writing, and in those modes of writing, an author is simply describing how something is or explaining the characteristics of something. In persuasive writing, the writer actually takes a position for or against an issue and then writes to convince the reader to believe something or do something. So that's a little bit different. An expository or informational article might simply describe what the 9/11 memorial looks like. A persuasive piece might try to convince someone to go visit the 9/11 memorial, and that's the difference. You often see techniques of persuasive writing in political speeches, in TV commercials, in magazine advertisements, and in the editorial section of newspapers. So we're going to take a look at a couple of advertisements, and then we're going to move on to some video persuasion. So let's take a look at this ad together. This ad is for Tide, and maybe you haven't had the pleasure of doing laundry yet, but Tide is a major brand of laundry detergent. So if we look at the picture and look at the details in the picture, it looks like the zebra has lost his stripes and the dog has lost the spots. And so the ad seems to be saying that Tide is such a good detergent that it could even wash the stripes and spots off animals. So it's a little humor to try and convince you to purchase Tide, because if it can take the stripes and spots off animals, it'll definitely take that spaghetti stain out of your new shirt. Okay, this ad is for some kind of mousse, hair mousse, not a brand I'm familiar with, to be honest. But they have the picture of the product, they want you to buy the mousse, and it's showing that their mousse is such a good product, it can turn a lion's crazy mane into a beautiful, styled kind of blowout hairdo. So if you were to buy this mousse, your hair could be as beautiful as this lion. And if you were just to look quickly at this ad, you might think it was possibly for Gatorade or even Reese's Pieces. But if you look closely at what they've done here, they put the two products together so it says pig. And if you read the text down here, it says littering says a lot about you, right? So if you litter, you're a pig. And this is actually an advertisement about not littering, even though I kind of do want to get some Reese's Pieces after looking at it, but I will not litter when I eat them. So convincing people to think or do something is not an easy thing, but there are tricks and tips that I can give you to understand how others might manipulate you. We're going to look at video and text and kind of look behind the curtain and see what techniques authors are using to make you think and feel something. And then we're going to turn it around, and you're going to use those same tricks to get somebody else to think or feel something, which is pretty exciting. Once we study what really masterful writers do, we can own those techniques, and then we can use them too and be masterful writers ourselves. One really exciting thing about studying techniques in writing is that if you have the language to persuade, you have a lot of power. Think about this. If you're good at persuasion, you can get hired for any job because you'll know how to use language to convince someone that you're the right person for a position. You will get people to date you or even marry you because you'll convince them you'll be a great partner. You can convince your kids to behave. You can get a good bargain when you buy a car, and so on. Anything that you want in life, you will be able to get because you know how to use words to convince other people. It's an awesome thing to know. Okay, so there are three big things that go along with persuasion. And we do not need to memorize these fancy words, but I'm putting them on here because I'm an English teacher and that's what we do. But ethos is the writer's credibility. The really important question when you think about ethos is, can you trust the author? If you're trying to convince somebody to do something, you need to convince them first that you're trustworthy. Because if you don't trust the person, you're not going to believe what they say. You're not going to do what they want. So you have to establish trust first. Then logos. This is what evidence does the author provide? So we're talking about facts or statistics, anything that's solid proof that whatever the thing that he or she is trying to convince you of is a good idea. And then pathos is the emotions. How does the author use words to play with my emotions, right? And I'm thinking, and I'm not going to show it to you because it's too sad, but you know those commercials where they play that Sarah McLachlan song and all those dogs and cats are at the pound, and it like tugs at your heart and you just want to cry and adopt all the dogs and cats. That's one example of somebody playing with your emotions. You know, you start to say, well, what about the children? The children. People love kids. So they start to throw money at charities and things when we start bringing kids into it. So there are lots of ways to play with people's emotions, but you should do it responsibly. Don't abuse that power like Sarah McLachlan and her animals. Okay, next up, you're gonna go to the next thing in Blend Space, which is a YouTube video called Dear 16-Year-Old Me, and I would like you to watch it, and then we'll move on together to study it a little bit. Just a warning, it gets emotional.